Hey, welcome to the Monday Morning Show. We're your hosts, Cohn, Ryan Hensley, unofficial quality control. Big breaking news for the 49ers. Brock Purdy met with the surgeon who's going to do his elbow surgery, met with him last Friday, and the surgeon decided to perform the surgery this upcoming Friday. So Brock Purdy hasn't had the surgery yet, but the plan is for him to have the surgery this Friday. What do you think of this news?
Not too groundbreaking. I mean, it's kind of what we thought. I originally it was reported Wednesday. Now it's going to be Friday for whatever reason.
That's March 10th.
The 10th. Maybe just a scheduling thing. Hopefully, some of the key wording in that news was they're hoping for the repair. So that's going to be big, man. On the 10th, after they have this surgery, when they go in, that's going to determine how the 49ers approach the quarterback position this offseason. If it comes back and he's just a repair back in 6 months, then that kind of changes things. Now you're looking for a third-string quarterback. If it's hybrid or Tommy John, you got to find somebody that can compete with Trey or at least second-string quarterback.
I find it interesting that he went to meet the surgeon last week, and the surgeon recommended wait another week, essentially. Because, like the way this is being framed is, he's good to go. Not necessarily. I mean, the surgeon essentially said, yeah, let's do this. Let's wait another 7 days. Because, it seems like it's not like he's busy. Like,
right.
I got a whole schedule filled next week. Nah, I think we probably should wait another 7 days to be careful. And then, I hope you'll be ready on that day. Maybe they're just being conservative, but it does kind of seem like, okay, so March 10th, that's 6 months out from that. It's about September 10th. That's usually when the NFL season starts. So maybe John and Kyle were talking to this guy like, all right, man, we can be conservative, but if we could get this done by the 10th, that would be great, because I'd really put him in line to at least start week 1 if we're real desperate.
Yeah, I still don't think he's starting week 1. That's the perfect case, like best case scenario. No hitches, no holdbacks, no setbacks. Everything's perfect. He'll be available.
Also, worst case scenario in the sense that it means that Trey Lance was an abysmal failure this offseason and can't be trusted to start a single game in September.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think
desperation.
I think too. At minimum, it seems
at least.
Like yeah.
Because here's the thing. From the Niners' perspective, they could be like, you know what? Brock's our guy. Even though there's not enough evidence to say that, they could feel like Brock's our guy. He's coming back. Let's not rush him. But if we could get Trey Lance on the field for like a month straight and get some good performances out of him, boom, he's got trade value. We could trade him before the trade deadline and do right by him and all that kind of stuff. That could be the plan.
I hope.
Although, better plan is to just keep both young quarterbacks and see what you got, because you don't really know what you got.
Yeah, I really hope that's not the plan. I hope there's no I want to trade Trey Lance talk. What I think they should do is use this opportunity with Brock Purdy injured to see what they got in Trey Lance. Give him 4 starts, 4 consecutive starts. Niners always start slow anyways, right? So what are they worried about? They always start slow. Give Trey Lance 4 starts while Brock Purdy's recovering from this injury. See what you got in him before you make any decisions.
I have a simple request, too, with this Trey Lance experiment. They've already leaked through the press. Was it Albert Breer? I forget who it was. That Trey Lance is not the athlete they thought he would be. Apparently, they thought they were drafting Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. But they got Trey Lance, and they've gotten him injured multiple times trying to be Justin Fields or whoever, Tim Tebow. Yeah. Before the Niners give up on him and relegate him to the bench or trade him, can they just give him a shot playing quarterback in their system?
Please.
Let him see what it looks like, because they did it one time, and it looked good. He won the game against Houston. Every other time, he's had to be like the leading rusher on the team. Just a little extended look of him playing quarterback in the system, the same way Brock Purdy does. I'd like to see what that looks like. I think they need to see what that looks like.
We've had 4 starts from Trey Lance. One was with a broken finger, 16 design runs against Arizona. That's not a real tell of how he plays quarterback.
Not 16 design runs, but 16 overall runs. Some of those were scrambles, but a lot of those were design runs up the middle with no lead blocker.
It was 9.
On first, that sounds right. 9 sounds right. Just straight up like, here I go. And that's where the Tim Tebow stuff looked like. That's what Tim Tebow did in college. It's like, okay, you just want it like, you want your quarterback to take 4 or 5 hits on every play. That's what you want. You're inviting it. Okay.
Yeah. With a broken finger. So he had
all right.
16
Hurt
runs,
his knee.
nine designs with a broken finger. That was Arizona. Then we had Chicago in a monsoon, right? Then we had Seattle, a couple possessions. The only real time he played quarterback was against the Texans, and he was 70% completion percentage, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 31 rushing yards. Like, that was what Trey Lance can be. And we've had one game of actually seeing Trey Lance play quarterback. So let's see 4 in a row, 4 consecutive games, 4 game plans for Trey Lance to play the quarterback position. That's what I want to see.
Agree. Now there's some disagreement online about when the schedule the surgery is, but Matt Barrow says it's Friday. Mm-hmm. Michael Silver says it's now scheduled. He had originally said it was Thursday. They pushed it back to Friday. Again, I'm telling you, they're pushing it back. They're trying to frame it like good news. He's ready. But the real story here is he's not ready yet. It's not Monday. Because you usually think, let's meet up Friday. If all things go, let's do this first thing Monday morning, right? I usually do things first thing Monday morning. It's a good time to do things. That's when we do our show. First thing Monday morning. Right. If not that, maybe Wednesday. No, let's reconvene on Friday next week. Okay. Yeah. That seems like, not the best news, but not the worst.
No. There's something going on with that swelling. I don't know why it's been swollen for so long. I talked to doctors that said it's not very common. It's not completely unusual. But, I mean, it's been a month, right? It's been a month since he got injured.
And it seems to me what's happening is more than a month. It was January. What's happening is they're going to a baseball surgeon, someone who's done this a lot. But what he's saying is like, look, guys, this isn't a baseball injury. Pitchers, this is something. They don't hit their arm against a pass rusher. It's wear and tear. This man hit his arm against a 250-pound pass rusher who was coming with, opposing force. He wasn't just standing there. So this could be, when they finally open it up, it could be worse. And they don't know though. I mean, I guess the MRI looked promising. So there's that, but they'll have to see. And so far they kept saying like, not yet. Well,
and here's the crazy thing, Grant, like best case scenario, he comes back 6 months from today or from Friday and he's 100% Brock Purdy. That's absolute best case scenario. The other scenarios are hybrid, which would be like 9 months. Tommy John, which takes him out the whole season. But even if he gets to the 6-month surgery and he comes back, there is no guarantee that Brock Purdy is going to be the same quarterback he was. None at all.
Because last year, he had an entire offseason.
Yeah.
This year, he would have none. And it's not like he's necessarily Aaron Rodgers where he can just roll out of bed and play quarterback at a high level. Maybe he can. I don't know. But this is maybe not. Maybe he's he needs that preparation. We'll see.
49 for me, even based on how great he played, and he played really well last year, right? As the season went on, they started off hot, like really phenomenal. As the season went on, well, just not like phenomenal, not like this is our franchise quarterback. So to me, it's such a small sample size that even if he was 100% healthy right now, I wouldn't be like, okay, this is our franchise quarterback. But the fact that he's injured, they don't know when he's coming back. If the 49ers invest fully into Brock Purdy right now, I think that's a huge mistake. It's way too soon. Way too soon.
I think what they found is that young quarterbacks with a limited physical skill set, maybe guys that other teams would overlook, can flourish on the 49ers for a time. So instead of just clinging to Brock and rushing him back and being desperate, why don't you take a step back and be like, maybe we could do this again. Maybe Brock Purdy wouldn't have been this good on other teams. Maybe you put Brock Purdy on Arizona, he would have struggled like everyone else in Arizona, but you put him here and it works. Maybe there are 4 or 5 quarterbacks who fit that criteria in this draft that you could maybe look at. That's the way I look at it. I don't see why the Niners need to rush Brock back or beg Tom Brady to come out of retirement or sign some freaking has-been. We're going to get into the options when there's so many Brock Purdy-esque quarterbacks. Let's not rewrite history and pretend that Brock Purdy was super special, as a physical specimen. I mean, there are other people like Brock Purdy out there. I believe it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brock. Stephen Pryor, thank you very much for becoming a member. I appreciate you, and I see you. Jose Batista says, went for dinner with my girl Applebee's the other day, and Fernando came on. It was magical. Oh, that's when you know you're in the right spot.
Yeah. Yeah,
Applebee's, baby. That's eating good in the neighborhood. All right, so today, the last few days, there's been reports from various outlets on veteran quarterbacks the Niners will be looking at because, frankly, they acknowledge they're gonna need either a third string quarterback or a second string quarterback, and I think some people think they might need someone with starting experience, and we've been, speculating for weeks about who they might get. My favorite option is Marcus Mariota because he's mobile and he beat the Niners last year. I'm always interested in quarterbacks that beat the Niners, but no, that's not who the Niners are interested in. We're hearing reports of guys that the Niners routinely make look stupid and silly and awful. Baker Mayfield, Andy Dalton, they shut him out last year. Matt Ryan, and Jacoby Brissett. What do you think?
I like Brissett. The thing for me is if Brock Purdy has a surgery and we find out it's hybrid or Tommy John's, 49ers got to get a starting caliber player. And that's why I like Jacoby Brissett or Marcus Mariota. Those would be my two main targets I would go after if we find out Brock Purdy's not on this 6-month timeline. If we find out he's on the 6-month timeline, that kind of changes things for me. You don't want to go out and spend a ton of money. Then you can probably just look for a third string quarterback and maybe get by with one of these guys that kind of make your skin crawl a little about thinking about it. But, hopefully they never even touch the field. So then I could see maybe like a Matt Ryan, Andy Dalton, which is still not impressive or something I want. But really it's all determined on what happens on next Friday with the surgery. If they find out Brock Purdy's on a 6-month timeline versus a 9 to 12-month timeline, that's two different scenarios. If they find out he's on a 9 to 12-month timeline, to me, they got to go get a starting caliber quarterback to compete with Trey Lance or at least back him up.
What's funny is like these options here, like Mayfield, especially Ryan, Dalton, Brissett. To me, they all have nice arms. They all have really good arms. They can throw it. They can spin it. They're accurate.
Yeah.
They're so freaking slow.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
And I just think that you're kind of out of touch. It's just, I don't know if Kyle's out of touch or maybe these reports are out of touch, but we just saw Brock Purdy have success primarily due to his quickness. Mm-hmm. That is such a game changer in this offense. It's what Jimmy doesn't have. Right. It's a really important quality. And Andy Dalton, wow, that dude is so slow. The reason I think, and what's crazy is the Niners should know this. They just saw it with Brock Purdy, but also every time they lose a game, it's to a quarterback who's really quick. They always beat quarterbacks who can't move. And they lost to Marcus Mariota, but they don't have the self-awareness to be like, maybe we should bring in, if you can't beat him, join him. If you can't beat him, bring him in. They're like, nah, we can win with Matt Ryan. No, you freaking can't. Your pass protection is terrible. It's 2023. Quarterback needs to move his feet.
Yeah. Yeah, Dalton and Ryan, to me, that's a third string option. That's a Brock Purdy's coming back in 6 months and
retire.
Retire.
Retire. Both of you. Go away.
Yeah.
You've made a lot of money. I really think they should retire. Matt Ryan, Andy Dalton.
Jimmy.
Didn't he just he is. He's Jimmy. He's Jimmy with like no confidence. I don't know why Jimmy has confidence or if he has confidence.
Yeah.
But didn't they shut out Andy Dalton this year? Shut him out?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sign that guy.
I watched the game where Andy Dalton, I think he had 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter. I forget which game it was, but I watched it this year and I was like, this is bad.
I'd rather have Jameis. Jameis is legitimately a better quarterback than Andy Dalton, but I don't want Jameis. I don't like these options. To me, these guys are all old and slow, and all the quarterbacks that were left standing at the end of the playoffs were quarterbacks who were young and quick, could move around. Mm-hmm. Because every year I feel like the pocket collapses. Let me ask you a question. How many snaps in a high-level football game feature a quarterback dropping back and throwing from the spot that he drops to, not having to step forward, left, right, back at all, just drop back, step, throw? What percentage of dropbacks does that happen in the NFL today?
Unless you're Tom Brady, not often. Yeah.
Unless you're relentlessly checking down immediately, most of the time you got to move a little bit, especially if you want to push the ball down the field. So, I don't know. I mean, Jimmy couldn't move. Matt Ryan can't move anymore. Tom Brady needs to retire. Like, let him go. Bring in someone. Again, you just showed how much success you can have with a quarterback fresh out of college. Why wouldn't you lean into this? This is a great feature of your offense. Look what you can do.
Yeah,
that's great. I don't know.
I think there's something to be said for just going young, because you never know. You can find a diamond in the rough with these young guys. These old guys, we already know what they are. We already know
they're journeymen on the downside of their career. Like you bring in someone like Brock Purdy, all of a sudden, wow, there's an untapped potential here in this 22-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. So let's go through the options in a second. Corey Soto says if the Niners trade Lance, I hope wherever he goes, he has nice merch. It'll make the switch easier. Yeah, don't go to anywhere with a bad jersey. Let's talk about the rookie quarterback options. If you're like Ryan and I, Ryan and me, well, you were watching or following the combine this weekend.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of quarterbacks who performed very well athletically. Doesn't mean they're good quarterbacks. But as we just said, it seems like more and more to be a successful quarterback, you have to be pretty athletic. So which quarterbacks that the Niners could get, at their picks, 99 and later, are intriguing to you?
Well, before we do that, is it okay? Can we talk about how amazing C.J. Stroud looked?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. I know we're not going to get C.J. Stroud, but I mean, I was watching that guy, and every throw just looks smooth and natural and just easy, and he's just phenomenal. I really believe just by watching the combine, C.J. Stroud to me is the best quarterback in this draft and could be like a 10-year quarterback, franchise quarterback, And then you saw Anthony Richardson, freak athlete. Yeah. That guy he could be really damn good too.
I think it depends on the situation, but if you I might take Anthony Richardson number one. He might be a total bust, but I'd be willing to take the risk because if you don't trade up for him, you just have the pick and you got like a 6-year contract as a head coach and you got job security and you could get it wrong once, man, aim high. Don't take the 5'10" quarterback and say well, he's going to be good. No, why don't you take the guy who might be who's the best athlete ever at the quarterback position and be like, you know what? We can run the ball early. We can make it work in a Philadelphia Eagles type of offense and he can grow as a passer over time. That might be, an ambitious way to go about it.
Yeah, and as good as Bryce Young is, and he's really good. That guy's small, man. And I'm passing Bryce Young for C.J. Stroud if I'm a GM or maybe Anthony Richardson.
Really, really small, 5'10". So that limits your options. I mean, you're not going to be running him on design runs too much. You're not going to be throwing over the middle too much. He can't really see that. I mean, still though, he's really good. And I think you're seeing more and more is fewer and fewer passes from the pocket. The pocket can be a lot of quick throws, but a lot of times it's like, get the hell out of there, get a clear picture, make a throw. That's what Brock Purdy did all the time. It's what Bryce Young's going to be way better than Brock Purdy, playing Brock Purdy style of football.
Yeah.
So I'm saying he's not going to be bad. He's going to be good, but Anthony Richardson might be great.
I didn't know. I just fell, for lack of better words, fell in love with C.J. Stroud. I mean, he's 6'3", 218. Every single throw that he made looked perfect, smooth.
Here's my concern with CJ. Here's my concern with CJ. He's got about 700 throws at Ohio State. He's going to go to a terrible team. He might struggle at first. And, not to get political, but a lot of times young black quarterbacks, if they struggle right away, they can get written off and shelved. But if he gets drafted really high, he might just get, a couple years. Like Justin Fields, the other Ohio State quarterback. Man, he's on a bad team. And they're already talking about, well, should they trade him or should they get the next guy? It's like, well, he has no one on his team. So CJ might have a little bit of a rough start, not to any fault of his, but if they could put a team around him, because that's the thing at Ohio State, you got a great team. There's no pressure. You never have to move in the pocket. You just drop back and throw. So you're not really prepared for that part of the NFL, but I mean, he's legit.
Phenomenal.
He's legit.
Justin Fields is a much better athlete, I think, than C.J. Stroud, but from a passing standpoint, there's not a throw that kid can't make. I mean, he was throwing 65, on the go to a 65-yard ball, perfect. The guy didn't even have to slow down or anything. 65 yards in the air. And not only that, the short ones were perfect, just smooth, natural. His mechanics look great. I'm all in on C.J. Stroud, man. If I had to bet on which one of these quarterbacks is going to be top-notch, it would be him. But I did like Will Levis or Levi.
I like him too. I actually think all four of the first round quarterbacks are worth the gamble because they're athletic. They're good athletes. Like Will Levis, people crap on him, but man, he was on a terrible team. His junior year was actually pretty good. Then he lost some people that had to play under Rich Scangarello. Niner fans, you understand. I mean, you should have sympathy for Will Levis. He had to endure the Rich Scangarello experience. So he could be like Purdy in the sense that he could go to a team that actually has talent, and all of a sudden he looks competent or better. So I think all four of those guys are worth the risk. I'm not saying all four of them will be good. The Niners won't get a crack at any of them. I think there actually are other quarterbacks later in the draft who would look good on the Niners. I don't know about you, but I have like a list of 5 I've been looking at.
Can I talk about one that everyone wants the 49ers to draft, who I do not want? Can I tell you? Can I bring up that guy? Jake Haener, man. I'm sorry, but
that's not for me.
Oh my God, he's a poor man's Brock Purdy, like really poor man's Brock Purdy. Like his arm talent was so bad. Like he's gonna throw so many interceptions in the NFL. And I'm sorry, I know he's a local guy, and I understand that people probably have sentimental attachment to him because he's a local guy. But I'm not drafting Jake Haener for nothing. But that being said, there are a few guys actually, and I'm also not drafting Aiden O'Connell. I brought him up a couple weeks ago. He's just too immobile. He's just old school type quarterback. This was
why didn't Jake Haener run? He had a 35-inch vert. He had a 7-second 3-cone. Like he looks like he might be a decent. Look, I'm not against Jake Haener. What I want to know, don't tell me how good you are from the pocket. If you got to be good from the pocket, but to me, you got to be special as an athlete and getting outside the pocket. And I don't know if he is. I'd like to see. Why didn't you run, dude? I mean, Purdy ran. What are you afraid of?
He's a backup quarterback at best. Just based on his arm talent, I was watching him throw, and it was just.
Let me say something though. What you could do with Jake is if he's an undrafted free agent and you put him on the practice squad, that's sometimes a tough sell because those guys don't make a lot of money and it's expensive to live out here in the Bay Area. But he's from Danville. He went to Monte Vista, so you could be like, hey man, you could live with your parents.
Yeah. I bet if the 49ers offered him a UDFA, he would probably sign just because he's from out here. Right? It's
like, yeah, man, we can't really pay you a lot, but you could literally live in the basement with your mom and dad. And the mom is the anchor for KTVU, so maybe he could just stay at KTVU, get an internship. Yeah, a side hustle.
Yeah, no offense, man. I know I feel bad when I'm hard on these young kids, but his arm strength looked like. I feel like I have more arm talent, basically, is what I'm saying. The Niners should sign me because I feel like I have more arm talent than Jake Haener. But you probably want to talk about. He just
looks really small on the field. He looks frail.
Yeah.
But again, so does Bryce Young. It's hard to hold these guys. I'd be interested, but I wouldn't. I don't think I'd draft him. I mean, I feel like there's other guys I like better than Jake Haener.
Yeah. Yes, there is. Should we talk about those guys?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Jake. Sorry, Jake. To be fair to Jake, if you're watching, I was really dismissive of Brock Purdy too. So hey, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Jake. Yeah.
Let me hear your takes. I got a few of them too. So you tell me who your favorite one was.
Well, I'm not a UCLA fan, but I follow them. I went to UCLA and I've been watching Dorian Thompson-Robinson for a really long time. And he had he wasn't great at UCLA, but this last year, all of a sudden, he completed 69% of his throws, which is nice. He also had 27 touchdown passes and like 12 touchdown runs. He's a really good athlete. And as we've seen with certain quarterbacks, you can improve your accuracy. He's been working with Jordan Palmer, who to me is the number one quarterback tutor. And he's seeing results. He's a hell of an athlete. He's a cannon. He has like the best 10-yard split ever recorded at the combine for quarterback at 151. Malik Cunningham did it too. So he's experienced like Brock Purdy. He started for 5 years. He threw like 1,300 passes. Excellent athlete. He's not that small. He's 6'2". Cannon. I mean, we'll see what he does in the cognitive test, but he went to UCLA, so I'm guessing he's pretty smart. That's the guy I like right there. And I don't know if he fits the Niners, but like if you like Mariota, well, he's in the same freaking system. You know, it's the same thing, kind of similar to Mariota.
He had the fastest mile per hour on his pass, 62 miles per hour on his pass.
He's a really good athlete.
So he has all the athletic stuff there. He's got the arm talent.
He's got the experience.
He's got experience. I like him.
Improving accuracy.
That's the only thing I would say when I was watching him throw. He was a little inconsistent. Inconsistent.
Absolutely.
But the 49ers did meet with him. So
do the Eagles. And again, he's a guy you could get late. Where is he getting projected to go? He did have a good combine. Maybe his stock is up. I don't know.
He's basically ranked last right now out of all the quarterbacks, I believe.
You might be able to get him as a UDFA.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense to me why he would be last.
What's funny is people say stuff like, well, he's really raw as a passer. he threw 1,300 passes in college. No. Anthony Richardson is raw as a passer. This guy's actually pretty polished. He can make all the short throws. I mean, ball placement is an issue. It might always be an issue, but he completed 70% of his passes last year. Kind of like Jalen Hurts, who was struggling with accuracy, but did have that last year at Oklahoma where he completed 70% of his throws, and that was sort of, prescient for what was in store for his future.
If the 49ers got DTR, I would be happy. I'll tell you that much.
There's other guys, though. I mean, there's also the two. What's so interesting is look at college football. It's a very high-scoring game. Those national championships are like 50-48. The NFL is sort of becoming like that. The two quarterbacks in the national championship were Max Duggan and Stetson Bennett, who was like Brock Purdy 1 and Brock Purdy 2. You know what I mean? It's pretty funny. So, I think if you put either one of those guys on the Niners, I feel like it would look a lot like it looked with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I like Stetson Bennett. I liked a guy
that can run.
Don't hear much about. I like that Tyson Bagant, whatever.
Oh, he went to Shepherd or whatever.
I like that guy, man. Based on the combine, he looked good to me, man.
He threw a lot. I think he threw 2,000 passes in college. Now he's Division II. Maybe the Niners are scared off of Division II quarterbacks, but he threw 2,000 passes in college. I think he threw like 50 touchdown passes a season. He's got reps. He's got the tools. He's interesting. He's definitely. There's all kind of guys.
Yeah.
And
who else? There was I don't know.
Clayton Tune from Houston.
Clayton Tune wasn't bad. The one guy that I really didn't like too much was Max Duggan. He didn't really jump out to me very much.
He's fast though. He's hella fast. He ran a 4.52.
Yeah, I'm talking about his arm talent.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Much there, Jaron Hall, I didn't really see much. You know who I did like too was Tanner McGee. I like Tanner McGee, man.
You did?
6'6". He's got an arm.
Yeah, I'd like to see him run. Did he run? Because to me, I saw him in person. And I thought, man, this dude is slow. And I'm like biased against slow quarterbacks. Get the hell out of here with your slow ass.
Yeah.
Heavy feet. Yeah. Take them somewhere else. Stop those galoshes somewhere else. Get out of here.
You know what's crazy that I didn't realize is that Patrick Mahomes only ran a 4.8 40.
That's true, but I don't care about the 40. I care about the 10.
Yeah.
I just care about those first 3 steps. Can you get the hell away from a pass rusher? If not, you're not going to make it. Otherwise, you better be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. You really need to be like beating defenses before the snap, knowing where the ball is going to go. And how many quarterbacks can do that? The Hall of Fame quarterbacks can do that. So I'm open-minded.
I think out of the ones we talked about, I don't think they're going to be able to get Bryce Young, Stroud, Levis, obviously Richardson. No, they're not going to get Hendon Hooker. They probably won't even be able to get Tanner McGee.
Wait. Hold on. We forgot we should talk about Hendon Hooker. I really like Hendon Hooker. He tore his ACL. I mean, he's interesting. It's like he's old. But it's like, do you want a quarterback to come into the NFL young or experienced?
Yeah.
And it used to be young, but now I think it's like, you know what, dude? Go back to school. Who cares how old you are when you come out? Because what's important is that you can play for your entire rookie contract. Like we can't be developing you on the bench for 2 years. I mean, ideally, you don't want to. So I would be interested in Hendon Hooker. That guy was efficient his entire time in college. Yeah, he played with ballers at Tennessee, but so did C.J. Stroud. So did freaking Bryce Young. You can't hold that against him. I would be interested in Hendon Hooker, but I don't know if he'll be there at 99.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd be interested in him, but I just don't know if he's going to be around. And if he is, it's going to be with the 49ers' first pick. Do we really want to spend a first pick on a quarterback that's probably?
I wouldn't be against it because it's the most important position. The way I would look at it is, I would draft a quarterback, and I would also sign one as an undrafted free agent. Bring it too. It. Why not? It's a quarterback position. You can't tell me that you know for sure. Forget the veterans, because the veteran is going to be some loser that you're going to give. He's going to be some guy. It's like, hey man, we can't even offer you any guaranteed money. You might be inactive. Like, okay, who are you bringing in? Bring in someone with some potential. Draft a guy, sign an undrafted free agent, and be like, maybe one of the 4 of the guys in this room will be a franchise quarterback one day. Or not. But we're just going to keep bringing in guys until we find someone. I think that's a perfectly fine way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see it, man. Hey, I can see it. It is the most important position. They got to nail it. If you got 4 rookies, basically Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, a higher draft pick, and a UDFA, that's 4 rookies. One of them might work out. You never know. One of them might be the franchise quarterback. But one of these old vets is not going to be a problem.
No, and I'm looking at trends I like the NFL drafting trends. It used to be you can't draft a quarterback from the Big 12. You know, it's not real football they play. There's no defense over there. I mean, it's just pass, pass, pass. You got to get a quarterback from the Big 10 or the SEC, someone who hands off and plays NFL football. Well, that used to be what it was, but then the NFL changed its rules. And now if you want to win, you probably want to be able to pass a lot. And what I noticed was the quarterbacks in the Final Four this year were Iowa State, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and who was the other one? Was it LSU with Joe Burrow? So it was 3 Big 12s and an SEC. It's all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we want quarterbacks who throw a lot in college. Oh yeah, throwing a lot in college prepares you for throwing a lot in the NFL, right? Oh yeah, like sense. It's kind of interesting, makes sense, right? So something to think about when you look at these quarterbacks, guys who threw a lot. That's part of the deal with Brock Purdy. He threw a lot in college. If you didn't throw a lot in college, you better be part of the run game the first 2 years of your career, like Jalen Hurts was.
Yeah,
and he threw a lot in college and played in big games.
It's funny how when you look back at this Trey Lance pick, and you know I believe in Trey Lance's potential, but it's kind of funny, man. No experience, very raw as a passer. It's kind of crazy.
And then the plan was to keep him on the bench. Oh,
yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's really
he needed reps.
The way they ran him, the way they used him, it's just I don't know, man. If Trey Lance doesn't work out, I hope he does. But if he doesn't work out, that is a big eyesore on the resume of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch.
Also, look what happens to Anthony Richardson. It's going to be an interesting parallel. He's going to go somewhere and probably going to get developed completely different. But the comparisons between him and Trey Lance are obvious. This is another guy, Richardson, who started 1 year, threw about 300 passes, is totally green. A better athlete than Trey Lance. But let's say he goes to Indianapolis, whose head coach is Shane Steichen, who I said the Niners should hire this offseason. So they got him. And they're going to probably, if they get Richardson and develop him the way the Eagles developed Jalen Hurts, be interesting. I mean, they have him on the field probably pretty quick. I don't know. Be interesting to see. Can it be done? Because that makes me, if they do, then it makes me feel like, man, the Niners ruined Trey Lance and there was potential there. Or there's still potential there.
One thing I want to see between Richardson and Trey Lance, Richardson, much better athlete. Trey Lance, I like how he goes through his progressions and how he looks to pass. I'm curious to see how Anthony Richardson plays out in that regard. Also, as we learned through Marco's video last week, that 80-plus elite score, there's never been an elite Hall of Fame quarterback that didn't score 80. So I'm curious to see which one of all these quarterbacks that we've been talking about is in that elite range from a mental aptitude.
Yeah. I wonder if Trey Lance could do it over again if he would just go back to school. Because, man, I mean, I'm sure it's like when you're 21 or 20 and they're like, man, you're going to be a top 3 pick. It's tough to say no to that. But knowing what happened to him on the 49ers and how they really weren't committed to the process, probably would have been better to just go back. Because in retrospect, he would have been the top quarterback off the board last year. He would have got picked before Kenny Pickett. He might have been the first pick in the draft.
I mean, anyway. It's hard. How much money is he getting paid? You know, so
it's true.
At the end of the day, it changed his life, his whole family's trajectory.
No, it's true. But I feel like we're seeing more like quarterbacks go back to school and older quarterbacks come out. I think that there might be a new trend.
From a career standpoint, probably better if he stayed in college. From a financial standpoint, it's hard to pass up millions of dollars when you have that opportunity.
And it makes me wonder too, like with Anthony Richardson, man, why are you leaving now? But I think the answer is look at the quarterbacks who are coming out next year. Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 pick next year. Anthony Richardson wouldn't be. So, I mean, he's making an argument right now that he should be the top pick over Bryce Young. He's like, man, stand me next to Bryce and tell me you're going to draft Bryce. Just put us next to each other in the same room and draft Bryce. Yeah. I dare you. That's smart. That's really smart. Stroud could do the same thing.
Who do you think D'Amico is going to get? He's going to get
a second pick. They have a second pick.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I feel like it might be Richardson. I
don't think so.
No, who do you think he's going to get? He'd be smart to get Stroud, in my opinion. That's the guy for me. But
let me. I'm trying to think this through.
All right.
So forget D'Amico. Slowick. That's the offensive coordinator. Is Bobby Slowick an offensive genius who's going over there like Mike McDaniel and thinking, I'm going to build an offense around unique talents here? Or is he a guy who's never called plays before? I guess McDaniel was like, who's going to say, you know what? I'm bringing the Niners offense with me. I think he's doing that. I think he's bringing a scheme, and he's going to be like, Stroud, Ohio State, spread offense, not under center. I can't coach that guy. Anthony Richardson. No. Prediction. It's either going to be, if Bryce Young's available, it'll be Bryce Young. Because at Alabama, you're under center. It's a little bit of a pro. That was Bill O'Brien. If not, it'll be Will Levis, or D'Amico will be like Kyle and pass on the quarterback position altogether and take one next year.
And they got the 14th also, right? So they could draft a defensive player and then see who's around at 14, maybe grab one there. I think
they could do that. But I have a feeling Will Levis is going to go. I think Will Levis could go to the Raiders. I think coaches that are sort of stuck in the past, like the more conservative, old school NFL coaches that want offense to look like it did 20 years ago and not like it does in college football, are going to love Will Levis.
Yeah,
because he was under center in college. You know what I mean? They're always going to be a little hesitant of the Ohio State spread quarterbacks. But to me, like Levis,
yeah,
he could be good.
Yeah,
he could be good.
He's a good athlete too. He's not just he's also a good athlete.
Yeah, he is a good athlete. I mean, if you look at the quarterbacks who have failed the last 6-7 years in the first round, they're usually the guys who haven't been that athletic. Baker was not that athletic. Darnold, not that quick. Rosen, Haskins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I think you really need some juice, some athleticism, and you need to be a good pocket passer too. That's why it's so hard to find good ones. You can't.
I mean, it's 2023. You can find an athlete who is also a good quarterback. So why wouldn't you?
And it seems like college football more than 20 years ago. Because when we were kids, college football, they ran the ball.
Yeah.
They weren't passing very much in college. Like now it's like there's a lot of guys who come into the league like Brock Purdy who just happen to have 1,300 passes under their belt. And they're like quick and smart and all. It's like, wow, actually, if given an opportunity, some of these guys can flourish. You wonder how many Brock Purdys out there never got an opportunity on a good team.
I mean, I feel like people are going to be mad at me that I say this, but I still feel like Trey Lance has a really high ceiling, but there's at least 3 or 4 quarterbacks in this draft that I feel like are better than Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. I really do. Like these top 4 quarterbacks.
It's in terms of
both. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's interesting. Like just look at what college is producing at the quarterback position right now. Last year was a down year, but this year doesn't seem like it is. Next year seems like it's going to be even better. There's no reason to be going out and signing Andy Dalton. Don't just say no. Andy, go become an announcer.
Yeah.
You should be an announcer / golfer.
Yeah, maybe draft. Yeah, you're right. I think they could probably get one of these, they could probably get a guy like, I don't know. Who would they draft in the middle? I don't want them using their first pick on a quarterback.
Well, the way I look at it is they have 3 comp picks in round 3.
Yeah.
That's like found money.
Yeah.
Those aren't your picks. I mean, one of them, it seems like you could, there's no harm in spending one. I mean, because anyone you pick at 99 and below, you can't just say, well, that's a definite starter. Like, it's not like you're passing on a plug and play starter by taking that guy. So if you're taking guys who are immediate backups anyway, at least take one. I mean, take the most important position. If you feel like you really like them, don't take CJ Beathard at pick 102 or 104 like you did 6 years ago. Don't do that. Right. But if you're the guy that you think is dropping, that you had higher on your board, that's not a reach, I'm all for it. That's the freaking quarterback position. But I don't know who that guy is. It is not Tanner McKee. I'm sorry. Maybe it is Tanner McKee. Maybe it is Tanner McKee. But he can't. I just feel like you can't be slow. You can't. And what it built to me, everyone was always hung up on Jimmy Garoppolo's quick release, man. That's what's more important is quick feet. Joe Montana had quick feet. Steve Young, Jeff Garcia. Bill Walsh was always about the feet of a quarterback, and I think he's 100% correct on that. Go back and watch Jeff Garcia's highlights. That dude was out of the pocket hella fast when he needed to be.
I'm not going to argue with Bill Walsh. That's
the way for damn sure. Shout out to Bill Walsh. 209er says, if they trade Trey, I'll be pissed. Royally pissed. Royally. D-Wood 7300 says Trey is a better off schedule runner than a design runner. Trey can be dynamic if Kyle cut him loose.
Agreed.
Yeah. The way I look with Trey is like he's the exact opposite of Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a lot of fun, and he might end up being a great quarterback. But with him, it's like you're trying to rein him in. It's like, all right, dude, you're doing a little too much. Let's check it down. Let's complete the slant. All the little tiny little things are the things you're working on with Justin Fields. Like with Trey, like he wants to check it down. He wants to hold it. He wants to step up in the pocket. It's like with Trey, it's like, man, go be an athlete. Go improv. Yeah. That's the way I look at it with him. Like, stop trying to please your coach so damn much. Go out and be the best athlete on the field.
Here's something I've been thinking about over this last weekend, Grant.
Yeah.
One thing I think is wrong with Trey Lance is he is too much of a pleaser.
People pleaser.
He wants his team to like him. He wants his coach to like him. Like, excuse me.
They won't like you. They're not going to like you.
That shit.
Fuck that shit.
You know what I mean?
You're not going to get people to like you by being like, please like me, please like me, please like me.
Go.
You got to do what Purdy did and say, hey, shut up. And people will be like, all right. Actually, hold on. Look at it this way too, Trey. It's possible they're never going to like you. Mm-hmm. Jimmy's their friend. You were brought in to replace their friend. They might always hate you. Nothing you can do about that. Go and play in spite of them.
Yeah.
Pick yourself up when you get sacked. Don't count on them to have your back, but still play well in spite of them. And look them in the eye after you make a throw and be like, how you like that, baby?
Yeah. Get a chip on your shoulder, man.
Thank you. Get a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through. Here's the way I look at it. The Niners have 6 positions that are probably going to have new starters next year. Yeah. So with free agency around the corner, let's go through each position, and I'm going to ask you, will the Niners address this in free agency, in the draft, internally, or a combination?
Okay.
Starting with free safety, incumbent starter Tashawn Gibson, free agent. Jimmy Ward, free agent. And usually if the Niners haven't signed one of their free agents by now, they get away. They usually don't enter bidding wars for their own guys after free agency starts. So if those two leave, do you think the Niners will address the free safety position internally through free agency or through the draft?
So here's what I want the 49ers to do at free safety, and then I'll tell you what I think they do at free safety. What I want them to do is spend – they're going to spend somewhere. Spend it on Jimmy Ward. He's worth it. He's a veteran. He's the oldest player on the team, like longest tenured player on the team. He's a leader. He's a dog. Like, he is the guy. If you're going to go re-sign somebody, sign Jimmy Ward, and then you can also pick one up 5th round, 6th round. What I think they're going to do is probably re-sign Tashawn Gibson on a short-term contract and then draft a rookie. I want them to get Jimmy Ward. I think that would bring you guys are after the Super Bowl. You want to make this Super Bowl run. To me, Jimmy Ward is a vital part of that on the defensive side. If I'm spending money on a free agent this year, it's Jimmy Ward. That's what I want them to do. I think they're probably going to go after Gibson because he's going to be cheaper, and they'll probably grab another rookie in the draft. They should definitely grab a rookie in the later rounds.
I have a feeling both Ward and Gibson are going to leave. I think Gibson is going to cash in. Like, his agent, if he's doing his job, can point to his numbers and be like, dude, my client had a better year than Talanoa. He just didn't have the marketing or whatever. He didn't have Troy Polamalu saying he's great, but he actually was better than Talanoa. So he should be getting a multi-year deal to start, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went somewhere like Houston with D'Amico. Jimmy Ward, I just feel like, yeah, he'd be great, but I still think he can get good money. And the Niners seem like they don't have any money earmarked for this position. They got Steve Wilkes coming in. He is a DB guru. I think he's going to want to draft a position. I think he's going to want to draft a safety. And I think the Niners have kind of shown that they have a new prototype at safety. Look what they did with Talanoa. Gibson had a similar skill set. They don't really seem to care about straight line speed at safety. They're playing a lot of split safety anyway. As long as you run a 4.6, a 4.65, what they want is like, fluidity in the middle in the open field and explosion and instincts and ball skills. I think if you're looking for safeties who fill that criteria and run a 4.6, 4.65, there's guys. They should probably be able to. There's tons of them. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to wait until the pro day results come in and see who really has those like sub 7 3-cone drills. But all you got to do is find a guy who like had some success in college, and it's like 200 pounds, and we're a sub 7 3 cone, and it picked off some passes and is a good tackler. Man, I'm sure there's 15 of those guys. I bet you they draft one.
I think they're going to draft one either way. Excuse me. No matter whether they get another safety in free agency, whether it's Gibson, Ward, somebody else, they might do one of those things, but they're also, no matter what, the 49ers are going to draft a safety.
Well, they also have George Odom, who they signed to be a special teamer, but he got some reps at safety last year, and didn't he pick off a pass? I mean, he wasn't bad. They might give him, what they could do is give him a look and draft a guy and say, you know what, we don't have to spend $8 million a year on a safety. Although in the future, safety is an interesting position because kind of like tight end, it's important but underpaid. Yeah. You know, like, is safety less important than corner? I don't know, but they're cheaper. Mm-hmm. So if you notice, the Chiefs last year, they were like, look, Charvarius Ward, hell of a player, but we're not going to spend whatever $17 million a year on you. Yeah. We're going to go sign Justin Reed for significantly cheaper. Yeah. And is he a worse player than Charvarius Ward? I don't know. He's really good, but he's a safety. Yeah. So good position to invest in.
Either way, I think they're drafting one 5th round, maybe something like that.
Seems like a good round to draft one, considering you just got Talanoa Funga there, and he's a all-pro. Again, doesn't have to be fast, but you want 10-yard split, vertical, 3 cone, all that stuff has to be off the charts. And I think you're looking for a guy who's, I think another thing the Niners didn't want with Jimmy Ward is they wanted someone bigger. Gibson's 206. I think they want someone who's a little bit bigger. But I think what's also interesting about the modernization of the NFL, defense is just becoming like a bunch of safeties on defense, if you think about it. You got the safeties, and then you got like jumbo safety. Like linebackers aren't linebackers anymore. They're like 215, 220. So you got the jumbo safeties up front. Yeah. Then you got like the hybrid nickel safety at nickel. I mean, pretty soon you're just going to have 7 safeties and 4 D linemen on the field. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yes, Jimmy Ward is a dog. Love Jimmy Ward. I just think that he shouldn't sell himself short, and he should go get one more payday, because I think there's going to be a team like Baltimore who wants him.
And we're going to get to the other open positions, but I feel like a lot of those other open positions you either can or have to get in the draft. You have some money to spend in free agency. Why not fucking Jimmy Ward, man? I think he's just the leader.
I don't know how much. Let's think about it though. They're going to restructure some contracts, but they're going to extend Bosa. They're going to. What else are they at? I mean, they got to
make it cheaper though, right? If they extend him, doesn't that make it cheaper for them a little bit?
Perhaps it's possible, but there's 6 positions we got to address. So they could sign Jimmy Ward, but that means you can't sign a right tackle or a center or a defense. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking free safety, but we also got strong side linebacker, defensive end, center, right tackle, D tackle. So it could be Jimmy Ward, but he's like a 31-year-old DB. You might forget Emmanuel. What about Emmanuel Mosley? Some people want him to come back. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he's coming back.
I would like to get him, but I don't know if they can do it. If they bring back Ward, I don't know. That's tough.
Bosa said Mosley's coming back, but then at the combine, Lynch was talking about Diamador Lenore like he's the next All-Pro. So I'm thinking they're going to stick with Lenore.
And they got Womack, but they still need another corner, so I imagine they're going to draft one later on in this draft also. Yeah,
I would think so. Yeah. If Travarius didn't get hurt, he would be next up, 4-3 speed. See, I think the Niners feel like they learned something from the Travarius Moore experiment. It didn't work with him. He was a 4-3 guy that they felt like, you know what, let's just get someone with range. Like, that's the last thing they value in safeties now. They play split safeties. They don't care about single high stuff. They care about instincts and fluidity and tackling. Like, Travarius Moore couldn't tackle. That's a big problem if you're the last line of defense. You can't play.
Yeah.
You can play. So these guys, these safeties who run fast, the Niners just put them on special teams now. George Odom runs a 4-4. Mm-hmm. Nobody in the secondary tackles like Jimmy. No. No, they do not. Jimmy is a legendary tackler.
Yeah.
Moving on. Azeez Al-Shaair most likely going to leave. He was a really good player. Their Niners going to need a new starter at that position. Will they address this internally, in free agency, or in the draft?
McCrary Ball, man, that's your guy right there. Internally, I think that's how they're gonna approach it. I don't think there's any question. That's what I see happening. Azeez is gone, probably gonna go to Houston, I'm guessing. McCrary Ball, that's the guy I would have already penciled in for that position.
Yeah, he's gonna get an opportunity. I feel like the first opportunity will go to Oren Burks, since then he's making like $3 million this year, but I mean he's more of a special teams guy, and I think if he doesn't excel, which I don't expect him to, he's on the second team, then McCrary Ball will come in. He looked really good in training camp. He looked really good in preseason. Yeah, and the Niners are so good at drafting, not even drafting, but developing undrafted free agent linebackers, as Azeez Al-Shaair was. I would fully expect him to be able to do it again. That guy seems like the next man up.
Yeah, I think that's why they're, okay. I mean, obviously it's expensive to re-sign to get Azeez, but I think the reason why they're so comfortable with it is because I think in their head, McCrary Ball is already penciled in as that guy.
Yeah, and Azeez, it seems like he's played so well that he's now earned a promotion into like a weak side. No, a middle. He's a middle linebacker.
Yeah.
When Fred Warner's out, he's going to go be a starting Mike linebacker somewhere else, and he could end up being a Pro Bowler. The Niners can't afford to play him as Sam anymore because that's like 30% of the snaps. You're not even on the field that much.
Right.
So good for Azeez. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Houston. It was D'Amico's Mike.
Yeah, I think D'Amico's gonna grab a few guys, and that's one of the main ones to me that I think is like I could almost guarantee it.
Houston or the Jets.
Yeah,
Houston or the Jets. Mm-hmm. So McCrary Ball, I like that one. Defensive end, Charles Omenihu and really Samson Ebukam is going to be a free agent and most likely won't come back. He's a really good player. D'Amico Ryans called him the Niners' best edge setter, like a better run defender than Nick Bosa, and I believe it. He's really good at that. Not really the pass rusher the Niners need. Also, he's expensive. What do you expect the Niners to do here? Internal replacement or draft or free agency?
I think they're going to probably approach it all three. They'll probably grab somebody cheap and revive them in the free agency. They're probably going to.
They tend to do that, right?
Yeah.
They tend to do that.
Yeah, I see them doing that. And then also Drake Jackson. I know they're hoping he takes a big step up, that he lives in the weight room this offseason. And then draft a guy later round, or at some point draft an edge. 49ers always got to draft an edge, right? So I think at some point they're going to draft an edge in this. And so I think all three is the way they approach the DN position.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Drake Jackson. You drafted him in round 2 last year. You essentially kind of redshirted him because he wasn't strong enough, but you took him over some, like you could have had Cam Jurgens last year, who the Eagles took, and that's their center of the future. Yeah. That's a guy who's going to be playing 100% of the snaps for the Eagles. You took a situational pass rusher, and the way I look at Drake Jackson is I don't know that he's ever going to be a starter. Like, he's not good against the run. But that was the book on him. Go read his NFL draft profile. It's like, he's really a liability against the run. Okay, fine. But you drafted him to rush the quarterback. So it seems like you could probably find a base D end who can set the edge. You can find guys like that. You could draft guys like that. It's not expensive. But Drake Jackson needs to be on the field on third downs, and I fully expect him to. I mean, they seem to know what they're looking at. They have Chris Kasarik that should be able to work with a year of him in the weight room.
I think that's all it boils down to. I mean, just based on everything everyone was saying about him, all the coaches, it's just a weight room thing, just a power thing. He just needs to find his ideal weight. I know at USC he was all over the place weight-wise. They used him a million different ways. So he's just got to find out what his NFL body looks like and just live in a weight room. Put on muscle. He just needs to be solid muscle. Whatever that weight is.
Aaron Banks did it.
Yeah.
Aaron Banks did it.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, Aaron Banks was a second-round pick who they redshirted. He remade his body, ended up being a legit – I mean, I'm not saying he's a great player, but he's a legit starter. And we were all wondering, what are they going to do at left guard? Well, boom. Drake Jackson needs to be the Aaron Banks of this year's team.
Yeah, and I think he could be. I mean, when he was in, he flashed. How many tip passes did he have when he probably had to have the highest ratio of, downs and tip passes. He was tipping everything. So I really think Drake Jackson lives in the weight room. Maybe go live with Nick Bosa during the offseason, figure out what he's doing, do that, and I think he'll be okay.
Also, he's never going to get chipped, ever.
Yeah.
It's always going to be Bosa. He's going to get one-on-ones for days. He's going to be going against, right tackles and stuff. I think he's got to be really important. They got to count on him. One more on defense, though. I don't think the Niners can count on Javon Kinlaw to just be a penciled-in starter. I think they got to look at him as anything they get from him moving forward is gravy. and they have to have as bonus, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they have to have a plan for starting defensive tackle next to Eric Armstead in case it's not Javon Kinlaw. So do you think they have that guy on their roster, or are they getting them in free agency or the draft?
To me, this position for me, because I do believe in Drake Jackson and I do believe in the 49ers' ability to grab cheap free agents, the defensive tackle position is the bigger concern for me. That's what I want to see them focus on over the edge this year. Now, Kalia Davis could be that guy for the 49ers. He could take that step up and be that guy. But I also think they're going to need to draft one as well, if not find one in free agency. But it seems like to me that's a position that they're going to need to approach in the draft in order to find a talented guy if Kalia Davis isn't the man.
At the same time, though, it seems to me like if there's one position where you could get a quality, grown man, solid, proven player for cheap, it's nose tackle. You know what I mean? A guy who's like not a pass rusher, but you know he's going to give you 15, 16, 17 games, stop the run, and be what you wanted. Kinlaw to be. Or not what you want. You want a Kinlaw to be Buckner, but be what DJ Jones was. I think you can find that guy. Usually players in their 30s can still do it. To me, the thing is, with Kinlaw, it was the 49ers front office's fault. Like, you knew he had a medical red flag, and you took him anyway. And then the next guy you took is Kalia Davis, who is a medical red shirt. Like, maybe the next guy you bring in a D tackle should not have any of those issues. Like, that was never Javon's issue. It was yours. It was your calculated risk that you took with the 14th pick when Tristan Wirfs and Justin Jefferson were on the board. Generational players who didn't have injury issues, and you did this because you had a need. You're drafting for need. It was never Javon's fault. That was a risk you didn't need to take. So don't do that anymore. Bring in someone who's just dependable.
Let's do that at every position. How about every position? You don't draft guys with injury history. Like that.
The only one I would consider this year is Hendon Hooker, because he's a quarterback and you can get him in round 3. But otherwise, not in the top 15 on an interior defensive lineman. Yeah. No,
find somebody else.
Yeah. Find somebody else. So I do think this is a position that they could draft this guy. They could get this in round 5 or 6 and get an immediate impact player, because teams aren't looking for run-plugging defensive linemen, but the Niners are. Yeah. The Niners are, absolutely.
And maybe Kalia Davis can be that guy. Who knows?
But I do think the Niners, one of their things is they have a really tough time admitting their mistakes. And, if they trade up for a defensive tackle in round 2 to really handle this position, it's them, implicitly stating that they made a mistake with Kinlaw. That's not how they do business. I have a feeling they'll give Kinlaw another chance next year and draft someone late, sign someone on the cheap, or just have Kalia Davis be the competition, which to me, again, is a little risky. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
John B says, Grant and Ryan, you both have great content. Can we agree that no quarterback can be labeled a bust after only 3 full games in 2 seasons? Trey just needs reps. I would have to agree.
First of all, I agree, and I want to let you know you have great music, John B. So
thank you, John B.
Yeah.
I also, like, if you compare his first 4 starts to any other quarterbacks, I mean, you could make a case that his first 4 starts were more successful and promising than many quarterbacks who went on to be great.
I mean, they are, and the funny thing is, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, it's really just one true, like, if you include context, no monsoon, no broken finger, 16 runs, 9 design run plays, 1 actual game sample size, which was the Houston Texans game. That's the only legit start he had. Like, really.
It's fair to say that we really haven't even glimpsed his career yet.
Right.
I got 2 more positions that the Niners need starters at, and these are now on offense.
Okay.
I think the Niners need a starting center. Jake Brendel was actually surprisingly good. Mm-hmm. You got to give the Niners credit. We hadn't heard of him. He was an undrafted free agent. He was hanging around on the bench on practice squads. All of a sudden, the Niners turned him into a 17-game starter and a Pro Bowl alternate. That is legendary. And now I think he deserves to cash in. So he's probably looked at as a quality starter, and he might just get a multi-year deal. I don't see the Niners giving it to him. And if they do, God love them. But if they don't, how do you think they're going to replace him? Internally, draft, free agency.
So here's one of the Jimmy Ward and Jake Brendel are the 2 guys that I would spend money on. I feel like Jake Brendel can play any position on the line. He could play center, guard. He could play right tackle if they had to. I want them to re-sign Jake Brendel, and not necessarily to be the starting center next year. Maybe it's Nick Zakelj. Maybe it's Sam Poe. I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, Jake Brendel's a way better athlete than Zakelj. Nothing against Poe, but Poe's 6 feet tall.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they plan on developing one of those guys. Maybe they draft a center, but I think, to me, if you're going to spend on the offensive side, you spend it on Jake Brendel. That's what I would do. He's
a better player than McGlinchey, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. If they re-sign Jake Brendel, I wouldn't be against it. I think he's a solid center, but I don't know that they have the money for it. I mean, maybe they do. If they don't, I think that they could draft a center. It feels like at pick 99, there could be a couple guys who probably could be plug and play and might even be upgrades over Jake Brendel. I'm thinking Luke Whippler out of Ohio State.
They have great centers in this draft, but I'm going to make an argument here on the next position to why I want to get Brendel.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, like, maybe a hold off, but I know the center position is really important, but the next position we're going to be talking about, to me, is the most important need for the 49ers this year. And that's why I don't want to spend my first pick.
If the Niners change their philosophy and say, you know what, we don't spend enough on our offensive line, because historically, since Lynch has been here, they've spent 15% of their cap roughly on offensive line and 20% on their defensive line. Other teams spend up to 25%. I mean, Philly, Detroit, those are like really expensive offensive lines, and the Niners aren't in that stratosphere. Maybe the Niners are like, you know what, we got to change our whole approach and spend more. If that's the case, then they'll sign Brendel. They could go sign a starting right tackle. Yeah. But if they don't, man, if you only allocate 15% of your cap to the offensive line, and you're spending like 11 to 12% of that on Trent Williams, then you can't sign anyone else. It's all guys on rookie deals. Yeah. So if that's the case, then Brendel, goodbye. McGlinchey, goodbye. Brunskill, and it's all guys that they draft. So that I think they drafted 2 last year. Burford and Zakelj. They could draft 2 more this year. They could be drafting 2 every year just because they can't afford to spend on it anymore, which is too bad.
You know, if they're gonna draft a center, I would prefer it to be. I'm so excited for the next position, Grant, because here's what I feel like they have to do. Like, you got Trent Williams, you got Aaron Banks, solid shit. If you resign Brendel, you're solid at center, and you got 2 guys that maybe can compete with Brendel, like a Poe or a Zakelj. I don't know why everyone loves Zakelj so much. I didn't see anything.
I'm sorry. He's not that. He was a left tackle. He's never played center, and he's not a premium athlete. The centers I like in this draft there's 3, and I think the Niners could draft all of them. Luke Whippler from Ohio State, Oluwatimi from Michigan, and Ricky Stromberg from Arkansas. Luke Whippler just destroyed the combine. He was the fastest center there. I think he'd be a hell of a player. Ricky Stromberg didn't run. He didn't do the shuttle stuff, but he's good too. Look for his pro day. And Oluwatimi from Michigan didn't run. He was slow, but he didn't do the shuttle stuff. Look for him. Whippler from Ohio State, I think he'd be there at 99. I think he'd be a hell of a player.
Whippler. And it's possible because, I'm okay with them drafting a center at 99 because my plan is a little different.
Let's talk about right tackle. You want to do that?
I'm really excited. This is the position I've been like, yes. Trade 2/3 and next year 1/3 and go after your starting right tackle in this draft. If you look at free agency, who's the best free agent available at right tackle? Mike McGlinchey.
Caleb McGarry. Well, McGlinchey. He's going to get the most money. That's true.
Yeah. So I don't want to spend money on Mike McGlinchey. And if Mike McGlinchey is the top-ranked right tackle, obviously we're not going to spend that much money on Mike McGlinchey. That's not going to happen. So what are we going to take off a knockoff, a step down from Mike McGlinchey in free agency? That's ridiculous to me. The way the 49ers need to approach this is by trading 3, I don't care, 2 this year, 1 next year. They have 11 draft picks. They're not going to sign 11 picks. Trade 2 of them, 1 next year, because you're probably going to have a comp pick next year for something, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo or somebody like that. Go after a for sure starting right tackle year 1. a right or not a right. What's his name? Damn it.
Darnell Wright.
Darnell Wright.
Darnell Wright. That's exactly what I was going to say, man. He's a really good right. He's 330 pounds. He ran a 5 flat. He's hella good. Yes. But the thing about these tackles to me, like any tackle who's looked at as good is a first round pick. If he falls to the 3rd and they can trade up or whatever, or they can get in position, I'm for it. I'm for it. Because you need a plug and play starter at right tackle who's not. They don't have one. It's not Spencer Burford. It's not Jalen Moore. It's not Colton McKivitz. Yeah. It's not. It's not Tom Compton.
Yeah.
Although it might be Tom Compton.
And there's 2 ways to invest into. No, it better not be Compton. There's 2 ways to invest. Is money, capital, or draft capital. You have 11 draft picks. You're not going to sign 11 players from the rookie class. Trade 2 this year, 1 next year. Move up. Go get Darnell Wright. That's a for sure starting right tackle who's an upgrade over Mike McGlinchey. That is absolutely what I'm going to be begging Jed York and John Lynch to do. Not that they're going to listen to me, but that's the plan, man. That's what they got to do.
I like it. I think it's great. I think the Niners, they want to have a premium right tackle. I mean, they spent a top 10 pick on Mike McGlinchey. They thought he would be they thought he would be special. Go back and listen to what John Lynch said when they drafted him. They called him like a badass. It's like, no. No, he's a really nice guy, actually. Yeah. But they wanted to have premium bookend tackles. You got a great left tackle. They can get, I don't think they want to just go a whole season with Tom Compton or Colton McKivitz. They were always in denial. They always tried to pretend that McGlinchey was better than he was. But now is their opportunity to go get an actual difference maker. And I think if they had to choose, would they rather have that at right tackle or center? They'd probably say right tackle. And I get that. But I think you could probably get both. You should probably find a way to get both.
You might.
Because the best teams in the league have both.
Yeah, if you have 3 threes, right? You trade 2 of them. You go up and get Darnell Wright. I think you might be able to get him in the early 2nd round. I think he still might be there. If you can get Darnell Wright and then draft a center with your 99, 100, 101, there you go.
Boom. Now you're in business.
And it's cheap and it's good. It's an upgrade over what you got, and it's cheaper than what you got. They're all be on rookie deals. That's what you got.
I like that. To me, I mean, I think you shouldn't be drafting other positions until you have your O-line and D-line and quarterback squared away. Those are the 3 most important positions.
Yeah.
It's the hardest ones to find. They're all important, but it's really hard to find quarterbacks. It's really hard to find big dudes who are athletic. You got to have those positions squared away, because if you're weak at honestly, the Niners' weakness at D-tackle last year down the stretch made them real susceptible to teams like Philly, who have these all-pro centers, or Kansas City. Yeah. So you gotta be solid on the trenches. You got to be set there, and the Niners really aren't. They're not.
Looking at the O-line specifically, the most important position to me is the edge, the tackles. Right, your left tackle, your weak side if you're a right-handed quarterback. But then after that, it's the right tackle. Maybe center, but right tackle, you got to get that edge.
But as you know, as a coach, a lot of times in a lot of different sports, people say you got to be solid up the middle. If you're not solid up the middle, you can't be weak at center. You cannot be weak at center. You can't just be like, we got Nick Sakel, we'll give it a shot. What if he's weak? The whole thing falls apart.
That's true. No, I'm not. It's the whole line. It's the whole line. But if you're an edge rusher like Nick Bosa who moves around, are you going to rush against Trent Williams, or are you just going to go around the Mike McGlinchey side, right? So, or freaking whoever's there, Colton McKivitz, right? So I'm telling you, man, if they do this, this will be like the success of the offseason for the 49ers to me.
Yeah, they got to find a way. And I think if they're really planning on going with Colton McKivitz at right tackle next year, they're not a serious team. I'm sorry.
Right.
You can't be mediocre at so many spots on the offensive line. It's got to be a position of strength. It's so important.
I feel like, Grant, if they re-sign Jimmy Ward, if they re-sign Jake Brendel, and if they draft a Darnell Wright type of right tackle, they just upgraded and they made themselves competitors. I really think that's key. Yeah.
I don't mind if they let Emmanuel Mosley go. Hell of a player, but they've already spent a lot on their defense and cornerback, and he's coming off a torn ACL. Yeah. And offense is more important, and the trenches are more important. So you got to spend your resources on offensive line. They got to find a D tackle. They got to find another D tackle, someone they can depend on. That should be easy. I mean, how many dudes? Here's an example. Down the stretch last year, the Niners traded for McCaffrey, which is great. Running back.
Yeah.
It was a splashy, sexy move. They could have signed Ndamukong Suh too. He was out there. Eagles signed him. He would have been perfect for the 49ers.
Great.
They could go guard. They could sign Ndamukong Suh this offseason. Someone like that. Do that.
Yeah.
Do that. Yeah.
Yep. They got to do it, man. That's the plan.
Got to. Justin Morrison says, I'm an Iowa State guy. David Montgomery is a free agent. Money aside, does he fit this offense? Rough back with great hands, Swiss Army knife. I never liked David Montgomery. No disrespect. But I always thought that whenever they gave him the ball in Chicago, you're doing the other team a favor, and that he was kind of not elusive. And I think that Khalil Herbert is way better than him. And I wouldn't give any money for David Montgomery. But he did play college ball with Purdy for like a minute, I think. I didn't like him. Also, they had Breece Hall this last year from Iowa State, who looked good in college, but then got hurt immediately. That's the problem with drafting running backs. It's almost like a ticking time bomb. It's like, man, this guy could get hurt immediately. Like, do you really want to spend a second-round pick on this guy? Like, you have no idea. He could get hurt immediately. Good luck.
Don't draft a running back anywhere above the 6th or 7th round, or UDFA. Yeah.
It'd be interesting. The one thing that's last topic before we go is I was doing nothing yesterday, and I was trying to think a lot about like a mock off season for the Eagles, because it's like the Eagles and the Niners are in an arms race, and I'm always kind of looking at what are the Eagles going to do, because they make aggressive moves. They have 2 first-round picks. They have the 10th pick, the 30th pick, and the 60th pick. Niners don't have anything like this, so they're going to be retooling. I mean, they're going to get a running back. That's going to be interesting to me. They're going to draft a running back probably with their 2nd-round pick. They're going to end up with Zach Charbonnet or Devin Achane. I forget how to pronounce his name, from Texas A&M. They're going to have a retooled team. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, because really Jalen Hurts is the only running back I'm worried about on that team right now. They don't have their Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Yeah, the 49ers are solid. I mean, Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, if they're all healthy.
They have good running backs. The Eagles don't. Yeah. They have Kenneth Gainwell, who's D's.
Yeah.
D's plus.
Yeah, that would be a move for the Eagles. They definitely need.
They got to take a running back, but they also need. They could always go trenches. They need a cornerback, but that's a team that's going to take a running back
too, right?
They did. They lost a bunch. They're going to lose Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave, but they drafted a D tackle last year, Jordan Davis. I don't know. Team to keep an eye on. They signed Trey Sermon last year, which lets you know how desperate they are for running backs. Maybe they'll take Jordan Mason if the Niners cut him. Better not.
It better not. I forgot we had CP still too. I wonder what he's going to develop into. We'll see.
He's going to get
cut. Oh man, he's going to check the Trey Sermon path, huh?
How is he not getting cut? If Elijah Mitchell's healthy and Christian McCaffrey's healthy, you're going to keep a 4th running back? No. They're going to get the Trey Sermon treatment. Yeah. Or they could trade him. They could try to trade him.
Like they did Sermon.
I don't know. Yeah, I never saw it with Ty Davis. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching the show, everyone. If you don't subscribe to Ryan already, make sure you subscribe to Ryan after the show, because I was checking. He has fewer than 3,000 subscribers, which means some of you guys aren't subscribing to his channel, which is just crazy. Off-putting. Yeah. What are you doing? Do it right now. Ryan, thank you very much. What you got going on the rest of the week? Me and you.
I got a fellow by the name of Grant Cohn coming on tomorrow. Larry Kruger, David Lichty will be on, and then we do a show on Friday. I always have great guests. I really have great guests, so please come subscribe. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back later today. I'll be doing a bunch of shows. I don't have a schedule yet, though, but I'll be here. Keep you on your toes. See you.